Dear brothers and sisters who are gathered today, I think I shouldn't be even preaching because the chief preacher has sent us the message, giving us the motif of this day and everything we can think of at this time of that Jubilee is contained in there. Still, let me say something little. As I introduced this Mass, we are gathered in joy and gratitude to God, who has been fully part of our faith story. And in this faith story, we see that from God we have always received the best these 200 years. In Zephaniah, the prophet is promising better days. The chapters before the reading of today in Zephaniah are pointing to warnings and chastisement. Then, the reading for today opens another phase of conversation, in which he says, chastisement does not have the last word. God is going to intervene in a big way, and his intervention will be a cause for singing, gladness, and rejoicing. And this is why the prophet is inviting the people of his time to already rejoice ahead of time, for in God they have something greater. In God they have greater promises. Since the inception of this diocese, great promises, especially spiritual promises, were opened to the people in this area. Promises of faith, promises of spiritual liberation, promises of a great future. And in this, God has been so committed to the good of the people of this local church in Richmond. For this we thank God, because God has remained among us to make things better, to manifest his saving action, to take over for our good, to be our strength, and to make us clean. And in all these ways, God is victor. And if God wins, we win with him. If God is on our side, then we also go to his side. This is where Zephaniah is pointing today. And as we enter into a new phase of walking into another 100 years, which will make it 300, I pray we are all around at that time. We shall walk in this hope of promises from God that are fruitful. The gospel has shown us Christ alerting the 12 of this great mission, that they are to be the messengers of this fulfillment. When Christ looked at the crowds, as God as well looked at the people in this local church at its inception, Christ thought of creating a new people, 12 men representing the original 12 tribes of Israel. In them, Christ is creating a new people to become extensions of his actions, to be special messengers of charity, to act like him, to look on people and feel compassion. And this is what St. Vincent de Paul did. He looked on the poor, the children, the underprivileged, and had compassion on them and acted like Christ did. The preceding verses in chapter 9 of Matthew show our Lord healing, driving out demons, raising the dead, feeding those who are hungry. These are the actions that the disciples are going to take on in order to make the mission of Christ's charity thrive for ages, even up to today. And these are the things the bishop has mentioned in his letter to us all, of the ways the diocese in its ministrations has become a special extension of the actions of Christ. For this we are thankful, because God's grace has led us this far. We are invited to maintain this course of action in the mind and heart of Christ, doing everything out of charity, doing everything thinking the best of the others, doing everything selflessly, doing everything out of a spirit of sheer service. Because as he told us, we are unprofitable servants. But if we do the will of him who sent us to be his ministers of charity, then we gain some worth. This is where Christ is leading us as a people, as a community of Richmond Diocese. And this is the mind of the bishop, of even initiating the octave of service. In these 8 days, let's offer spiritual and corporal services for the benefit of our brothers and sisters. And in this line, this whole week, I shall only offer masses for the special intentions of this diocese. There will be no individual inter-mass intentions. I will only concentrate on Richmond Diocese in special intentions. So let's pray for one another and thank God for his generosity, because as St. Paul has told us, he uses the weak to make great things, to bring about great outcomes. This means even this mission of charity is not ours per se. It is the action of God. And he has told us that if we are to boast, let us boast in God, because it is God's grace that has brought us this far. What we are is simply the action of God. Let's thank him, because his promises made in Zephaniah are promises come true in the gospel. And in the gospel we see he chooses weak men, fishermen, sailors, and poor men. At times I am amazed by the choice of Christ. He didn't have a rich man among them. There would be a rich man was Matthew, but when he was called out of the tax office, he gave up everything. He remained poor. He didn't have among them someone who is politically well placed. The only guy that was there was Simon, the zealot. He was helped to give away that spirit of violence, and that ended there. There were no great charismatic leaders. No. The biggest number were fishermen. I don't know whether fishermen are great leaders. But that is the company he picked. Very despisable guys. A small team, out of which such a great work has come. If they are to boast, they should boast in the grace of Christ. So should we for these 200 years. May God help us to walk as he expects us to, and be generous in dispensing his mercy and love to all generations all the time. The Lord be with you.